So the other day I made a video, a quick short, asking what the three branches of government in the United States of America are for, what they do, what their purpose is. I didn't expect to get back any responses, though I was surprised to see that that video had actually gotten a couple of views. I didn't think anyone would ever watch any of these videos, so that was kind of surprising. Because of that, I decided to go ahead and I promised an answer that I would answer sooner or later. And even though it was a short, I decided to make this one a long video because I feel like it's a longer answer than what that short offered. In fact, just this introduction's already been about a minute. So to answer this question, I went to usa.gov, which you can't get a more official site than that. So it sits here and discusses the three branches of government, and I just want to read these off to you real quick. We start with the legislative branch. This branch is made up of Congress, the Senate, and the House of Representatives, and special agencies and offices that provide services, support services to Congress. So basically it's made up of Congress and supporting agencies for Congress. The legislative branch's roles include drafting proposed laws, confirming or rejecting presidential nominations for heads of federal agencies, federal judges, and the Supreme Court, and having the authority to declare war. We've seen a lot recently on the confirming and rejecting of presidential nominations for different positions. So they're still holding on to that for the most part, it seems, although we have seen some recent things where as long as it's a temporary fix, then they don't need to do that. And so we'll see if that temporary fix becomes a continuously temporary fix. Drafting proposed laws. Yeah. That's something that they do, and the president hasn't been drafting laws. He's been drafting executive orders which have been acting as laws. And that's pretty much just as bad. And anyone can sit there and point out that every president has, and some presidents get worse about it than others, but no president has done it to this level. And I know a lot of his supporters are happy about it. You know what? Let's move on to the executive branch. What does the executive branch? What are they supposed to do? So the executive branch's key roles include the president, the vice president, and his cabinet. The president is the head of the state, the leader of the federal government, and commander-in-chief of the United States Armed Forces. The vice president is, we know the vice president is basically just the second in command. He's also the one who presides over the U.S. Senate and breaks ties in the Senate votes. We saw that in the last administration. And then the cabinet, of course, serves as advisors to the president. They include the vice president heads advisors. The executive branch also includes departments, independent agencies, and other boards and commissions. Doesn't really go into what they actually do, which is interesting because I had read this website a few weeks ago where it had mentioned that the executive office was there to help enforce the laws from established and reinforced by the legislative and judicial branches, respectively. That is supposed to be what he does. He's basically the enforcement center of these laws, not the creator of these laws. The judicial branch includes the Supreme Court and other federal courts. It evaluates laws by interpreting the meaning of laws, applying laws to individual cases, and deciding if laws violate the Constitution. So if the executive branch were to, for example, say that they are the only ones that can interpret laws that they create, well, then that would not be following within the three branches of government. That's a whole different thing. Like, no, that's not what the executive branch does. That's what the judicial branch does. So just wanted to clarify, because there seems to be a lot of confusion about who can interpret laws and who can create laws and who is there to enforce laws. I just wanted to make it clear that the executive branch is not the one that does all three things. We have these three branches of government for a reason. And if you want to sit there and point out how, well, presidents in the past didn't pay attention to it here and here and here, yeah, you may be able to point to an example here and there about a president or someone that didn't pay attention to these three different functionalities and they ended up overstepping their lines a little bit. You can probably point to an example here and there, but none of the presidents before have made it their entire policy to completely ignore all three branches of government and consolidate everything that needs to be done into that one branch. So there's a little bit of a difference there, and I feel like that difference is kind of important and should be acknowledged.